So welcome again, hopefully again, or welcome for the first time to Greifenhorst, my medieval fantasy world, where, I do medieval fantasy things. In my last episode, you see that I found a waystone, and that's mighty useful. And in fact, I found a lot of interesting stuff, but unfortunately my primary mission was to go out and find crying obsidian, which I found none. But we did, the other stuff we did find is great stuff, and I kind of have a backlog of great stuff to do stuff with. So this time around, though I do need crying obsidian, I do want crying obsidian, we'll be sticking much closer to home, working the home fire, so to speak. Now, there's a number of things going on here. First of all, I discovered that when I did my surveying earlier in the series, I surveyed from the wrong point. So the measurements are okay, but they're just measuring from the wrong place. So not quite useful. So I'm going to be fixing that partially with this new effort. Two, I kind of need to prepare the ground for what we're going to build, right? We're going to build a castle, fortress, village, town, complex thing. But the current land is certainly going to be somewhat of a template for that, but there still needs to be quite a bit of work to level out the bits that need leveling out and, just generally prepare for the effort. So that's what I'll be doing. Now, it'll still be a little while before we get around to actually building the fortress. So in the meanwhile, this land that we'll be leveling out is a fantastic opportunity or location to move some of these great resources we've been finding, so that we can, produce those resources while we're still getting ready to build the castle, and in fact prepare the permanent place to grow these resources underground. So with all that said, this is what I'm doing right now. Now, the surface portion of the fortress is going to be at Y level 62, which is at the bottom of this little hole I've dug, right? That's Y level 62. So the castle, what people would see of the castle on the surface, would start from that level and go up, on at least on the outer sides of the castle. As you work your way toward the middle of the castle, you can see, I've already built my little armored box on a rise, on a bit of a hill, and we're going to maintain much of that hill, maybe even expand it a bit, because that's where like the inner keep of the castle will reside, right? So this will all be part of a bailey, right? If you remember a previous episode, I talked about baileys are essentially like a walled yard of a castle. So this will be part of the bailey, where we'll have things like a stables and a blacksmith and all that jazz. But for now, it's wilderness, and we gotta de-wilderness the terrain so that we can do stuff. Now, for the I'm using an 11 by 11 grid for the fortress and its supporting building. So that is what I'm surveying, and the 11 by 11 grid is actually the basic 9 by 9 grid that you use for farming, right? Because you have a block with water, and it can support farms in 4 blocks in all directions. And so that gives you your 9 by 9, and then the 11 by 11 gives you a 1 block border all the way around that. So, for builds like this, that's the standard I work off of. And as I clear out this space, as I flatten it, I will start planting fields based on this same grid size. Now, initially, I think my first field or two will probably be wheat and or flax. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to build, well, right here I'm going to add some storage for blocks I'm likely to have lots of. So wood, cobblestone, and dirt. Other stuff I can carry with me for now. But I want to go with the wheat and the flax because they produce straw, right? That's a material that comes from the Farmer's Delight mod. And with the straw, combined with bone meal and the bark from logs that we strip, we can create organic compost, which we can set out in the sun or the weather, and that would turn into rich soil. And rich soil is awesome stuff. I've mentioned this before, but just for a review, rich soil is you can farm on it, and so whoopity-doo there. But for one thing, you can bounce up and down on it like a trampoline, and you're not going to trample your crops. So that's worth the price of admission all by itself. But the kicker is that rich soil is kind of like having built-in randomly firing bone meal, right? So you plant a crop on rich soil, it's going to self-fertilize itself like bone meal, like getting hit with bone meal, a few times every few minutes. So you really grow crops fast. And if we concentrate on the wheat and the flax to get us the straw, to get us the rich soil that we can then put back into the fields for the wheat and the flax, which then gets them growing faster, which gets us more straw faster, which then just kind of feeds this, it's a feedback loop. And so the whole thing accelerates, and we'll be able to quickly expand and enhance our farming facilities for all crops eventually. So that's good stuff. That's where I'm going to go with that. Now, I don't know. There is a lot of material removal to be done here. Actually, I didn't think it would be this much, but now that I'm here and I'm doing it, and I can see how much it's going to be, it's not a problem because I have use for all this material. But I don't know how far I'm going to get with this effort today. I hope to have 2 or 3 fields, because what I'd like to do is as I open up these spaces, I'd like to open them up at least pairs, right? In groups of 2, so that I can do one of the fields I could do as an actual field, grow a crop, and the other one I could reserve for growing trees of some kind, right? So that, because, now we have all the archwood trees except for the yellow one. And we have some interesting regular trees. I mean, when I say regular, not necessarily vanilla, but we got coconut trees, and we have a dead tree and umpteen trees. So there is a lot of good stuff that we can do now. And it's kind of a shame to let it just sit there in a chest, not doing anything, right? Because we can use that stuff now. So that's the goal, and that's why I put the Crying Obsidian quest on hold. Though, quite frankly, depending on how far we get on this episode, we might resume the quest for Crying Obsidian next time. But it's just so much to do. And I guess one of the things I probably need to think about doing too is setting aside time for trying to expand my spell book. If you're not familiar with Ars Nouveau, right? In previous episodes, I went out and got my spell book, and I've learned or created a few spells, and that's all well and good. But what you might not understand is that the more spells you discover, or at least the more glyphs you discover, The more mana that you can have at a time, so your mana pool goes up, as does your ability to regenerate that mana. And that's important because if you've seen me use my spells in previous episodes, they're effective. I mean, they're not all powerful yet, but they're effective. They're useful, but I have to be real careful because it's real easy for me to just let loose everything I have, and now I'm helpless or relatively helpless for a minute or two, and that of course can be all the difference between life and death. So nice. That's something that I should probably work on, right? Is expanding my spell repertoire and expanding my ability to regenerate and hold mana. And there's another side to that, is that expanding your spell repertoire gives me the ability to do new things with my magic that I wasn't able to do before. And that is, of course, the whole point in having the magic in the first place. So it just, there's no reason not to do it. It's just one of those things you really need to do. And, we're still very, very early in this process. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I need to do, should do, must do, whatever. Never a quiet moment, right? So, and that's what I like, because I like making progress, shaping things, building things. The name of the game. Well, the name of the game is Minecraft. You know what I mean? I am, if you noticed, so for a lot of people, they would, dig down to the level they need to dig, and then they would just, hollow it out from there, all at the same level. But you can see that I've done kind of like this, almost like an auditorium type of dig. And you'll find that I typically do this for large terraforming projects, right? I like the gradual stair-step surface. And the reason is, if you do it the other way, where you just dig a deep hole and you're in the deep hole, you've kind of trapped yourself, right? So if bad guys or whatever stumble upon you, you have nowhere to go. You're stuck. As opposed to going with this approach, though sometimes I need to make sure I don't completely screw myself like I did here, but I have with the stair-stepped approach, I can escape at any time, right? And that's important because, illagers or whatever, if I don't pay attention to the time and it gets dark, every monster in quarter kilometer will be coming after me. Not quite there yet. So that's why I do it this way, in case you were curious. And that's why, in this case where I have a double high wall, I went ahead and cut out that little notch a second ago, so I have a place to run out from. I usually, not usually, I often do it the other way around. Instead of digging from the bottom up, I dig from the top down, and I probably should do that here, now I think about it, because doing it that way, you always have plenty of stair-steppable options, as opposed to if you do from the ground up, you kind of have, for a while, a double high wall that you can't easily climb out of unless you dig a notch like I did. But then the notch is a choke point, so bad guys hang out at the notch. You don't want to go running into their welcome arms or unwelcome arms. And I apologize if I ramble a bit. I am currently fighting a cold. The entire house is sick. We're going through NyQuil and DayQuil like it's candy. 'Tis the season. 'Tis the season. And ironically, At the start of the cold and flu season, my wife was really pressuring me or reminding me, nagging me is probably the proper term, to go and get my flu shot, which I eventually did. And the irony is out of the 4 people in this house, I'm the only one who's gotten the flu shot, back in October. So for all her nagging, she didn't, there were circumstances. She had an appointment for her and the girls, and it went sideways, and then she got distracted, but I'm coming down to something. And, it's, if you're a parent, you know how it is when you have kids, right? They're kind of like microbe collectors, and then they bring their collections home to share with the family. In my family, I'm usually not the sick one, but kind of like, you see those nature documentaries where a pack of hyenas will take down a zebra by just wearing it down. Well, that's kind of like what happens here, right? They eventually get me. Just want to make sure that this is at 0, because 1, 2, 3, 4. So this next layer on the bottom is where my trig points are. Basically, these will be the corners of this section. I'm not going to build any fields around the entrance to our underground, but okay. And we're getting quite a bit of dirt. I mean, dirt's useful stuff. You can use it to make clay. You can use it to terraform areas that you want to grow stuff on. It's all good. I remember in the early years, for me, dirt was often a throwaway material. Don't feel that way anymore, that's for sure. Okay. It's for the new Londinium series, I've already finished 9 episodes, and this one, this is gonna be episode 6, I think, and it's just interesting how far I am ahead in one series and how far behind I could be in another, right? And so in that one, I'm still building my little starter base, but it's got to be substantial because I have a huge project and it has to be quite capable. So in terms of permanent base, I'm ahead here. But in terms of material collected and stuff, I'm ahead there. So no worry, no big deal. It's just different stuff. And in fact, that's okay. I need to light up these corners, and this block. You can kind of think of it as block 0, but this is the block from which all the other blocks are measured. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, so what was I talking about a second ago? Progress, right? So, but that's one of the reasons I have all these different worlds. I mean, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about my Let's Play series, and they were like, well, you didn't have a Let's Play, but you had something kind of like your Let's Play, and you had one, right? You do one at a time, and you do the mods. And I said, yeah, but they said, now you're doing a bunch of Let's Plays. And it's like, yeah. And they're like, isn't that going to overwhelm you? And so let's talk about that for a second. The Let's Play format, there's all sorts of different flavors of it, right? And what I was doing before really wasn't Let's Play. What I was doing before was more of along the lines of a mini showcase of my work, right? I would go and say, okay, I'm going to do Project X within this world. And it would take me 8, 10, 12 hours to do Project X. And out of that, I would then have to write, edit, and compile the material to make a 20-minute video. And there was nothing wrong with that, right? When you have the opportunity to sit down and think about what you're going to do, and you know, you can be as funny as you want to be and all that jazz. And it comes out pretty polished. But, you know, that's, 10, 15, 20 hours of work before you have a video go up. And of course, you know, I work, I have family, I have all this stuff. So that's a lot of time to do and then try to get a video out. And that's why, you know, I was doing them like every 2 weeks. With this format, it's actually hardcore. Well, it's not hardcore as in Minecraft hardcore, but hardcore as in it's very old school, old world Let's Play, which is if I'm in the game, you're in the game, and I'm talking about it. And in that format, you know, I'm doing these 1 hour episodes, but you know, to record a 1 hour episode takes 1 hour. and then you do some editing afterwards. So let's get crazy and say another hour. So you know, that's just a couple hours work. Boom, you have an episode. Now it's not as refined, obviously, or as polished, but I do like it in that, first of all, I'm no longer in a rush to try to get a major project done in time so I can do a video on it. And for another, you see what I see, you see me doing what I do, warts and all. And I think there's a lot of value in that because for some people, well, actually, I'm guessing here because I don't really, except for a couple people, I don't know what people get out of my videos. But for some, it's you know, they want to see what I'm doing and how I do it. And since it's we captured the whole moments, you also capture kind of like the evolution of the work. So, like, especially when well, I'm not doing it now, but when I get to the point where I'm making contraptions or something in Create, and I'm working my way through problems, how something should be situated, what materials should I use, I'll be talking to you about it. And, you know, there is a lot of value in that because it's kind of like, seeing how the sausage is made. If you want to make sausage, there's no better way than to hang out with a butcher. Well, that's kind of what the deal is here. And quite frankly, the only reason I suspect people might find value in that is because that's what I do, right? When I'm not just on YouTube, I watch YouTube. And I love watching Let's Play videos where the people are doing kind of what I'm doing now, which is there seems to be a little bit of a resurgence of this old school Let's Play format, which is, you know, let me show you what I'm doing as I do it. And I like that because I get ideas too, right? I mean, that's, you know, I'm making videos and you're watching them and, you know, maybe we're not participating in a direct discussion or whatever, but this is a type of community, right? This is people exchanging ideas, and that is what I've always found particularly useful or interesting about the internet or anything related to being online, which is this coming together of minds and ideas. So it's all exciting stuff. In fact, I even mentioned in the last New Londinium series, I said, you know, one of my influences is a YouTube guy named Imagineer Dave, right? He's a guy, he's an engineer out of the Netherlands, and his thing is trains. He is really big on trains, and as you might expect, modded Minecraft, specifically with the Create mod, is his thing. But if you go to his world, or you go to his videos to see his world, it's really amazing what he's done. And I watch his. He often does a live stream. So, those videos are like 2 or 3 hours, and I'll watch those over and over because there's a lot of detailed goodness in there that I can use for my new Londinium series. So, that's awesome stuff. And that's the type of cross-pollination that I find exciting about these online communities. So, anyway, off on a bit of a tangent. So now I got kind of like, lag. I kind of got module 0 around the entrance to underground done, and now you can see I'm focusing in one direction, which is outward to the north. And what I'm trying to do here is I want to open up a field so that we can get probably wheat growing in this field even while I'm working on all the rest, right? It's interesting. When I was younger, I was a pretty good worker, but I was kind of a lazy worker. I could get the job done. I can get the job done well, but I would do what they told me, and I would do tasks one at a time. So if something was blocking me, well, I just wait until I'm unblocked and then I'd press on. But as I got older, I had different motivations, and so now one of my things has always been, for the past 30 years, is kind of what can you do in parallel, right? So in this case, and this is kind of like why I'm doing this terrain manipulation and stuff now, because if I can get this field excavated and growing, then while I'm still working down here, that field's growing and doing the stuff I needed to do. And in fact, if I keep clearing out fields, even as I go on quests for more crying obsidian, or I'm building around here local, or doing more terraforming, more and more of those fields will be productive, and more of those fields will be giving me stuff basically for free, even while I'm out doing something else, right? And that is a great way to approach approach life and your professional projects and stuff, because it makes you more effective, right? Now, it's not quite the same as multitasking, right? Like my kids, they're listening to music, they're trying to study, they're watching YouTube videos, and they're multitasking. Well, not really, because you think you're multitasking, you're trying to do 3 different things at the same time, but your brain is completely scattered, right? But what I'm talking about here kind of is multitasking, because I'm only focused on one thing at a time, right? I'm like right now I'm digging, but if I had already dug out this first field and I was working on the next field, well, I'm still focused on the digging, but the field is now tasking, right? So it's not quite multitasking because I'm still doing one thing at a time, but I've kicked off processes that kind of are off and running without me. They don't need me to hold their hand. So good things happen with minimal effort on my part. Now it's getting dark. So you might be curious too, now you think about it, you might be curious as to why I put a mage light in the water block for watering that field. And as you may or may not have noticed, I built this place right on the border between taiga and regular forest. And I'm using the Serene Seasons mod, so taiga means it snows when it rains, right? Right now we're in early spring still, so when it starts raining out there, it's going to snow on the taiga. And when things start snowing in taiga, water freezes. So if you have a block of water in your field, it'll freeze. And once it becomes ice, it's not really irrigating your field anymore. So you want to keep it as water. One way to do that, a way that I prefer to do, in this world at least, is to cast the mage light in that water block. And because you should know by now that if you place down a torch, it will melt snow and ice and keep it away. The mage blocks do the same thing, except they have a wider radius. So plopping a mage light into the water block, besides keeping it lit up for me, I guess, is that it will keep that water thawed out. And that's mighty useful. So that's why I did. And now I remembered that I have bamboo, so going back to what I was just saying a minute ago about parallel operations. I guess you can call it parallel processing. There's no reason I can't plant some bamboo someplace while what is going on? Looks like I have the Let's Do merchant visiting me. And his mule is practical. Well, his mule's now in the house. Great. The armored box. Get off of that. Where are your manners? Standing on my furniture. Huh. Ooh. Dark cherry sapling, apple tree saplings. Well, do I have eight emeralds? Let me go get my checkbook. Let me check. People don't have checkbooks anymore, do they? So, shut the door to keep the donkeys out. Man, dude, you were just... yeah. Yeah. What a deal. Okay, thanks. Buzz off. Take your donkey out of my house, please. Not what I meant to do, but okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and plant some of this here. Get this going. Not what I intend to do. There we go. And now we can. We have enough of this field open that we can go ahead and start tilling the field and planting wheat. There we go. Parallel processing. You know, the difference between parallel processing and multiprocessing is in multiprocessing, you're not really doing multiple things at once. You're just doing things and giving them slices of your time. It's like they're taking turns, right? So, you know, you're working on a task for a couple seconds, then you switch your attention to another task, then you switch your attention to another task, and you just kind of keep going back and forth between them. And the appearance is that you're doing multiple things at once, but you're actually doing one thing at a time, but in very small steps, and then taking turns between them, as opposed to parallel processing, which is you essentially have multiple brains or processors or whatever, and each of them is working on something different at the same time. And that's really what we're talking about here, right? Is I'm not multitasking because I'm only doing one thing at a time, but the game has, I've set up multiple things in motion, and they're off doing their thing while I'm doing my thing. Okie dokie. Something I'll need to do early on when we start moving underground is, and I typically do, is set up the storage and engineering section. Though here I call it a workshop. Not a lot of medieval fantasy and engineers out there, but one of the things that we'll want to do in this world is to set up source generation. And source is essentially like steam power in Create, right? Source is the source of energy for a lot of the automation or automated elements of Ars Nouveau. So I have mana, and that fuels my casting of spells. So if I want to kill something or blast it, that's coming out of my mana pool. But if I want to have automated farming or magical turrets that defend the base or any of that type of stuff, that all requires source, and a lot of it. So we'll need to get that going. And once we have a source engine up and running, a source of source, and it is up and running, then we can add functionality to the environment, to our base, and route source to those activities, and things will go even faster, right? Because that would be another form of the parallel processing. So it's all just a matter of time. But it's exciting to me. I had a long, well, partly voluntary, partly involuntary break from actually just playing, right? When Griffin Hall, my first series, that was a meltdown. I mean, there's just no way to sugarcoat that one. Killed the save game too, and I didn't use backups back then. But Griffin Manor, when that series ended, that ended because I came to the realization that I wanted to move. Well, at first, I didn't necessarily want to move. I just thought it would be cool if I could move to 1.20. And I waited until I made sure that all the major mods that I was using in 19.2 were available in 1.20.1. So once that happened, I'm like, okay, let's do the switch. And I was even careful, right? In that I set up a test world to see what would happen. And it was pretty messy, but I thought, well, I can maybe work around it. But then I found more and more problems and realized to work around it was going to be non-trivial. I mean, I might as well just start over. And I already had a lot invested in Griffin Manor, so on the one hand, I didn't want to start over, but, through that play testing in 1.20.1, I realized there was a lot of stuff that I didn't have access to in 19.2 that I really wanted. A lot of times, mod makers will, stop development on a version like 19.2 and start putting a lot of new stuff into the newest version, which at the time was 120.1. So I didn't want to miss out on that. So that's why I started Worlds. That was the birth of New Londinium, or the idea for it. And while I was going through the logical exercise and the planning for all of that, it was like 5 months that I wasn't really playing the game, or any game, in fact. I was just working on the planning, and the question is, well, what type of planning is there? Well, there's a lot, right? When you make a jump between major Minecraft versions, you have a lot of mods that are always available. They make sure that they're available in all versions, but then you have most mods that are only available in certain versions. So there was mods that I had come to rely on or desire. They were no longer available. And I had to go either find replacements or just learn to live without. But while you're doing that, you're finding all sorts of other cool mods, new mods, that you didn't know about before. And now that you're making a reset, there's an opportunity. And so that took a while. Plus, I was also doing the planning about the actual building of the city and stuff, because if I'm going to change the scope of the project, well, let me think about what that means, right? And how that would work. And then, of course, the way we wound up here is while I'm working on all of this, I had an epiphany, right? Which was that once you build a mod pack of your own, you're going to find that the mods in the mod pack fall really into one of two flavors. There's mods that are there and provide value no matter what's going on, right? No matter what your goal is, right? So these are like the performance mods, or the basic quality of life mods, maybe certain building material type mods. You want those no matter what your theme is or your goal is. And then there's the mods that you want to include specifically because they are tuned to this particular theme or project, right? And that was my realization, is I had a mod pack for New Londinium, which is steampunk. It has over 260 mods in it, but about 20 of those mods were steampunk, and all the rest I would want whatever mod pack I would want to run. And that's where the idea for this world came from, because once I had that epiphany, once I got to that mental exercise, then I started wondering, well, what kind of medieval fantasy type mods would be out there? And don't forget, I had been playing medieval fantasy Minecraft for over a decade, and so I felt like I was kind of burned out. I kind of felt like, been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the collector's spoon and shot glass, so I didn't need to do that anymore. But now that I got my curiosity sparked, I start looking at mods. I'm like, ooh, look at that. And then I realized that modded medieval fantasy Minecraft is not even remotely the same as vanilla Minecraft. So at that point, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to do it too, right? And then eventually I came to the realization that there's some other genres I could explore. And that's how I got going down the path of my post-apocalyptic world. And to kind of return full circle to where I started, why do I have these all these different Let's Plays? Well, like I said, I didn't play for a long time, but also one of the things I realized is that, like in the case of Griffin Manor, I think that ran for close to a year. And for close to a year, I was working on the same theme, same project, the same set with the same goals, and same. I didn't say I necessarily got burned out, but it got kind of boring because it wasn't as stimulating, as it could be. And these three Let's Plays I got now, they're the same, but they're different. They scratch different itches, and right now I'm finding that that's incredibly enticing to me, right? There's 3 different ways to play with 3 different sets of emphasis and tools and whatever. So to kind of go over those, the New Londinium is my steampunk world, and it really is about building a big old automated steampunky world. It's there's, I put enough content in there for exploration and stuff to keep it interesting for me, and to add some challenges in materials collection and stuff like that. Plus, it gives me a great big canvas to work on for building new cities and railroads and all this jazz. But it's not a series that's going to get your heart thumping from adrenaline. There's very little combat and very little chance of combat. But this series is different because I specifically set this up so that I didn't plan. I mean, I'm building a big fortress, castle, town, whatever, but which you might find unusual for me is that I don't have a plan for it. I mean, I do have a plan for the underground bits, but the top bits, I'm just kind of playing it by ear, which, my therapist would say, ooh, you made a major breakthrough. But it's that's not the goal here. The goal here is actually to have a bit more random fun. And to that end, it's swords and sorcery. So I added a lot of mobs and stuff, including and especially those dragons, which they're tough cookies. They're going to be a major challenge. I did make it so that they're not spawning on top of me right now, so that's good. But so there is a lot of adventure in this world. There's a lot of opportunity to do crazy things, and that's going to be a very completely different world, a different source of inspiration and activity for me than the steampunk world. So I don't view them as competing. I view them as complementary because they, like I said, they scratch different itches, which then brings us to the post-apocalyptic world. And in that world, I mean, that's one of my favorite genres, right? And again, once you realize you essentially have 80% of a mod pack that can be applied to anything, the question was, well, what kind of post-apocalyptic stuff do they have? Well, a lot of good, great stuff. And I think I've made some great choices there. So I have a world that I'm excited to do. In fact, that's the next episode is the first actual in-game episode of my post-apocalyptic world. So, and what do I plan to do there? Well, that one, I kind of continued the trend in the same direction. So it's post-apocalyptic. In that world, zombies are tuned way up. And in fact, the same mod that really makes zombies a pain, if not formidable, also kind of does the same thing with all the hostile mobs. So that world, there will be building and stuff, because I mean, that's always my forte. But it's dangerous, right? It's kill or be killed, a dog eat dog. So that's in relative terms, maybe not for some of you adrenaline junkies, but for me, that is going to be my adrenaline go-to. It's going to, make sure you get your butt inside before dark, because all badness is coming down on winged feet. So, it's going to be dangerous and exciting, and I'm looking forward to it, right? So, and like I said, there will be a building element, big building element. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'll just have to see what the world's like when I get there. But, and my final Let's Play series that I have active at the moment is mostly Satisfactory, which is about the game Satisfactory. And that's not Minecraft. That's a different game entirely. But, it is very much aligned with the things that I enjoy. And what I particularly like about that one is, yes, it is a real-time game, but it's not. And there is some combat, but I mean, it's incidental combat, right? It's kind of like combat in my New Londinium series. It's there, but it's not even a key feature. It's just there to add a little bit of, you know, some help mix things up a little bit and not make it too easy. But the big thing there is the automation, and that's exciting to me. You know, the logical planning and building, but also because it's a game system I've never played until now, so it is a whole new experience for me, right? It's like I'm learning from scratch, and so that's interesting, right? It's kind of like a form of exploration unto itself. So, all right, so now we're cranking on both the bamboo and the wheat. So, right, I mean, this is really, really productive, and we're going. This is what I'm talking about. I'm excited about this. Now, I noticed that I just kind of throw this question out there, see if it gets a response. But, you know, like I said, there's modern Let's Plays were kind of more along the lines of what I used to do, which is, hey, I'm going to work on our project. Here's a time lapse, you know, 30 seconds, a minute of time to show the work I did over the course of 5 hours. Here's the end result. Ta-da! How do you like it? Yeah, you know, like, subscribe, whatever. Press on. Or more along the lines of the old school guys, which is like, here we are. This is me. I'm doing my stuff. And, oh, look, you get to see me get bounced around by a creeper and a zombie. And, you know, what do you prefer? Like I said, I like watching people play. In fact, if you have a good game, and I think Minecraft is one of those, you don't even need commentary. I think commentary adds a lot, right? I love people who have interesting commentary. I try to emulate them poorly, obviously, but I do love it. But if you have a good game and you have somebody who is interesting in how they approach these problems and how they build and stuff, you don't even need the commentary, right? You can just watch them build, just them and the game and you watching them like a fly on the wall. And that is actually pretty entertaining too. I don't know about you, though. Maybe that sounds like complete and utter boredom. And that's cool. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and probably a quarter of them have access to YouTube. So, you know, 2 billion people. So no matter what it is you like, there is at least one channel out there producing material that you will like. And when I started this channel, that was one of my worries, is because I'd been watching Minecraft videos. I saw what people are producing, and what I'm doing here, what I want to do, what I have been doing, it's not quite the same, not radically different, but not radically the same either. And I didn't know if anybody would appreciate that, right? Aside from my mom, she's always supportive. But and it turns out that there are people who like what I do. So I am still, to this day, eternally surprised by that, but internally grateful for that. So thank you. You are apparently my kind of nerds, or geeks, whichever term you prefer. There is a difference, but it's been my experience that most nerds are geeks and vice versa, so... You know, there's another element here, this ambience. You know, you got the ambient sounds, and I'm digging it. You know, I've got the sun beating down on me. I don't feel the warmth of the sun, obviously, but I see the shadows, I see the greenery, I hear the birds, and you know, scientists will tell you this kicks off all the same chemicals in your brain that really being there would. close to it. But it wasn't just Minecraft, right? I remember, I think I might have told you that a long time ago, here it goes, rain. Anyway, had to break, oh, and thunder. I really jinxed it. But, way back in the day, I was into the tycoon games, Railroad Tycoon, Roller Coaster Tycoon. And, wow. I mean, the thunder just started, and I've got bad guys all over the place. They were pretty eager to spawn, I guess. Okay, let me fire a full spread into Mr. Skeleton here. After I get my shovel. And take that, you pinhead. Anyway, the roller coaster tycoons. I mean, I grew up near amusement parks. They've been a part of my life since forever. I love amusement parks. Just love them to pieces. All sorts of different types of amusement parks. And so, of course, I had to play a roller coaster tycoon, and I enjoyed the living snot out of it. But going back to this ambience and feeling and kicking out the chemicals of your brain, one of my favorite things to do was when it was off season. So it would be too cold, or at times where I lived too far away from an amusement park to go, I could boot up the game and get going. And not only am I enjoying the game, but I'm hearing the kids screaming on the thrill rides. I'm hearing the music, the crowds. They're buying hot dogs and popcorn, and it brought the experience to me in a way that it's not the same as really being there, and it's not even really close. But it is a whole lot better than nothing. I mean, a whole lot better, and so in a lot of ways, I have been for years and years using games like this to kind of, like, in a way, self-medicate, right? Maybe if I'm not treating my brain chemistry, I'm treating my soul, right? My emotional health, and that's what I'm doing here still to this day. And one of the things I'm pleased about is, I've talked about my wife being pretty disapproving of me playing games, but we've been married for 21 years, almost 24 years, 22 years now. And I think she has come to appreciate the value in letting me do my own thing, playing the games, because it relieves the stress. It makes me happier. It makes me more fun to be around. And so, she's come to grips with it. And people always make jokes about happy wife, happy life, right? But it's a better one. It's happy spouse, happy house. Or because if she keeps me happy, I'm more likely to keep her happy. So it's a two-way street. And for you young folks, let that be a lesson that in all your relationships, especially romantic relationships, it's a two-way street, man. If you're just giving, and they're taking, and that's it, you're just setting yourself up for heartbreak and pain. Find a partner. Find somebody who's willing to give and take, and you'll be much happier. Especially if they're willing to give and take with you as you are. Because nowadays, unless you met somebody last week and get married tomorrow, nowadays we have a tendency not to get married, or get married after a long existing relationship. So, there should be a lot less surprises before you tie the knot, if you tie the knot. That's good. I don't know how people did it in the old days, right? They fall in love, but they live in separate houses. They don't have any type of physical relationship, and then boom, one day they're married, and all those things come rushing in on them. How did they make that work? What if things didn't work? And then arranged marriages. that's even harder one for me to understand. But I know a lot of people in my culture are kind of disapproving of arranged marriages, but all the arranged marriages that I've seen, because there's a lot of South Asian people in the area I live, and many of them are in arranged marriages through their families. And I'm surprised at how well they generally seem to work. People getting together who have known each other for years, but they're not necessarily romantically involved, and within a few years they are tight romantically. And I didn't think it would work, but it does. So who am I to say that our way's the best way? Which is kind of a weird thing for most people to hear an American say, but there you go. But I've spent a lot of time overseas with people. I lived overseas, so long ago I came up with the idea that I think America is a place full of great ideas and things to learn, but we don't necessarily have all the answers to all the world's problems, or even, obviously, our own. So, got to have an open mind. Just might learn something. And I just realized that I'm almost out of time. I'm basically out of time. So, we'll wrap this up. Man, time flies on these videos. But, I mean, that's a sign that I'm into it. I'm digging it. I'm having fun. Or there is some type of temporal displacement going on around here. But I'll stick with the former. But, yeah. This is, I hope to get further, but, I mean, bamboo is growing like a weed, so that's good. We have a full-size wheat field, and that's producing, right? Plus, we have one up the hill, so, I'm pretty sure that, rich soil, and rapidly growing fields are on the way. We made good progress, right? And now we're getting to a point where good progress is even visible. So, yay. I'm also surprised that nothing attacked. Well, I mean, we had the thunderstorm and some stuff spawn, but nothing really got in my face. So, well, except for that merchant and his donkeys. They didn't get in my face so much as they got in the house. So, I don't know what to do there. I'm not real keen on killing stuff just to get it out of my way, right? I mean, digital entities are people too. So, I don't want to kill a donkey because he's standing on my furniture. But obviously a donkey standing on my furniture isn't exactly optimal either. So, I might have to pull him out of the house somehow. Release him to the wild, where he can run with his wild brethren. You can't do anything with those donkeys either, right? I know it looks like they got all sorts of chests and stuff on them. And if you are from the Let's Do development team, or know of them, could you please recommend them that when their merchants go leaving donkeys scattered across the landscape, that those donkeys are tameable and assumable, so that I can start using their saddlebags and stuff? Otherwise, it's kind of like, not cleaning up after your dog. Just leaving stuff for others to deal with. And that's not cool. Okay. So, like I said, it's not as much as I was hoping, but it's still pretty good. Let's see if we can get a better view up top. This has kind of become my end-of-game same guy thing. Anyhow, there we go. Yeah, on my foot. Yeah. Try to burn these in multiples of 8. And what I can do here... Oh, hold on. I screwed that up, I think. As soon as that one's done, we'll pop in this one. That's 3. And then when that one's done, we'll pop in these 13. That would bring it to 16. So we would have efficiently used our coal. Our charcoal. And let's put some stuff away. So we have 2 diamonds. I mean, not gonna change the world with 2 diamonds, but we're up and moving finally. So, in real life, it is the most wonderful time of the year, and hopefully you saw my video holiday card, but if you haven't, then let me take this opportunity to wish to you and yours a warm, safe, and happy holiday season, regardless of what holidays you actually do or do not observe. And I hope you have a joyous new year. 2024 has not been a great year for me for a number of different reasons, but I hope 2025 is better for all of us. So with that, I hope this finds you and yours in good health, good spirits, and perhaps a touch of good fortune. So cheers.